quote, a son of Satan.
Oh, God.
So here is what he said in the full context of which it was said. And believe me, it is Looney Tunes.
Okay.
He said, New York is a gateway city, and the Bible says that we would possess the gates of our enemies. The Church of the Living God, we need to begin to pray that God would raise up men and women of God in New York that would be wise as a serpent but harmless as a dove, that they would be bold as lions but as gentle as a lamb, because this man, his soul is lost. He could be a son of Satan. We don't know that, but we need to be praying that God would break this stronghold.
Oh my God.
So it's all just fear-mongering and putting these ideas into people's heads. Meanwhile, you yourself are admitting you have no basis for it.
Well, because this is all about the end times. This is all about the tribulation, the rapture.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about the coming of the Antichrist. Yes. Like, this is what this is all about. And they're so desperate to make it happen.
Yes.
As we've talked about a gazillion times, especially through pagan invasion, which we are not, as you know, Sabbath episode, special episode, no pagan invasion nightmare.
No PG.
No PG. Hey witches, blessed new moon in Leo, and blessed Lughnasadh, or Lammas, whichever you prefer. And welcome to an all-new episode of Spelling the HEKA-TEA with Marcus and Evan. I'm Marcus, I'm an activist, witch, queer horror author, and always defiant homosexual.
And I'm Evan, I am an editor, a legal assistant, a lipstick lesbian, and also a witch.
If you are new here, welcome. If you are joining us again, welcome back. You know the drill. If you like what you see, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and help us build this beautiful, baneful, and blessed coven that we're creating in our little corner of the circle.
Yes, where we are two homos, one cauldron, and it is a spellbinding good time as always.
Abso-fucking-lutely. All right, so it is the Lammas Lughnasadh August 1st Sabbath Wheel of the Year special. Correct. Is this going to have all the bells and whistles of our usual special Sabbath episodes? No. Why? What? No delicious witch? No delicious witch. No, like, interactive spellcraft out on the field? No. Will there be an out on the field spellcraft segment, though? Yes. But why are we not doing all the bells and whistles on this one, you ask? Well, a couple of really small reasons. The first one being, Sabbath related, that Lughnasadh is actually a very geographical, specific celebration. You know, it's like how Cinco de Mayo is literally one battle, it's the Battle of Pueblo with the French, and it has become something else, but it's really the celebration of a victory for one, like, locale, you know, and in the state that locale is in, you know. And in contemporary form, yes, we have Lammas. And that is, you know, a neo-pagan Wiccan creation. We are going to get into it. We are going to talk about the holidays and all that jazz and give you that knowledge. But it isn't that. It's the first of the three harvest festivals, that and Mabon and Samhain. But it's really particular, and we're not Wiccan, so it's kind of something that, and we don't want to farm. So in terms of Sabbath, we were roommates for a long time. We never celebrated it. It was just never something we really did.
I think we did something for it like one time.
Yeah, and that is because we were living in a house at the time that had a back garden, and it had a shit ton of potatoes and leeks. Yeah. So we were like, well, this is agricultural and totally perfect to celebrate the harvest of these things. But in general, we just never really did. No. The other reason, though, is that we're going to be doing the Ides of HEKA-TEA special. So we've been promising since the start of the show that we were going to have, like, the HEKA-TEA of it all episode, right?
Spelling the literal HEKA-TEA.
Exactly. And it took a long time because we were trying to conceptualize how we could do it in a really fun and interesting way that would be engaging, and also would really explore from her primordial Earth Mother beginnings to Queen of Witches, Queen of the Night, how many people only, not inaccurate, but just a lot of times the only aspects they go to her or see her as. And then my birthday being August 15th, which is on the last day of the HEKA-TEA Ides, or the Festival of Torches, or also known in northern Italy, where she was worshipped as Diana HEKA-TEA, the Nemorelia. And all of these were from the 13th, 14th, and 15th of August. And they celebrated the all triple aspects of HEKA-TEA. And of course, again, in northern Italy, Diana HEKA-TEA. So we thought, perfect. You know, when it was Evan's birthday episode, you know, we learned more about her and Hera and Juno and her relationship with them, and learned more about Evan. Also, you know, with Juno in June, we did that with her run and the summer solstice, midsummer. So we just thought this would be the perfect time to finally do this episode. Yes. So we're going to do a delicious switch on that one. We are going to do a spellcraft that I think is really going to be really cool. You guys are really going to like it.
Definitely stick around for that.
Yeah.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah. And so I'm not made of money. We're not made of money. So we couldn't afford to do both.
Yeah.
We just couldn't afford to do all those things, delicious witch and all of that for 2 separate episodes.
And then turn around and do it again on the next consecutive.
Yeah, it just wasn't going to happen. The studio budget did not allow for that.
Exactly. And by the studio budget, we mean our debit cards.
Exactly. Royalty statements, paychecks, debit cards. That's what we mean by the things that rule us. So we're not going to do that. Also, apologies if we're glistening, if we're dewy.
Yes, we are a little bit.
Yes, if you live in the southern hemisphere, obviously, this is not your battle. No. You are trying to stay warm right now.
Right.
But for all of us in the upper western hemispheres and lower western hemisphere, y'all know what we're talking about. We're all dewy right now.
Exactly.
So,
and not from our makeup.
Yeah, so apologies in advance if we're exceptionally reflective and dewy.
Yes.
All right, so now we are back after a short break of cooling ourselves off.
Exactly.
Because we've been feeling like stretched leather.
Yes.
And we will be taking breaks to cool off through all of this to make sure that we're not blinding you with
our glassiness of our skin.
Yes. So with that being said, let's kick things off with Witchcraft in the News.
Yes, and I'm going to be getting us started today. So this story, like so many that we have covered recently, does come once again out of the shining city on the hill, Oklahoma City.
Oh God.
I know. So we are back once again in Oklahoma. So a lawsuit appealing directly to the Oklahoma Supreme Court aims to overturn the state's new academic standards for social studies on religious freedom and procedural grounds.
Okay.
A group of 33 parents, teachers, and faith leaders on Tuesday asked the state's highest court to block the controversial new standards, which will dictate the topics that public schools must teach in social studies classes starting in the 2025 to 2026 academic year. They requested Oklahoma's previous social studies standards enacted in 2019 be reinstated until a new version is validly approved. Plaintiffs contend the pro-Bible standards are unenforceable because they would unconstitutionally impose Christian beliefs on public school students.
Which absolutely
they would, yes. The lawsuit also claims the Oklahoma State Board of Education failed to uphold state law when approving the standards on February 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the plaintiffs contend that this infringes on their religious freedom and their legal right to direct their children's moral and religious upbringing. Absolutely. Most of the plaintiffs are not raising their children in a particular religion, or they have different Christian and Jewish beliefs from what the new standards include, according to this lawsuit. Reverend Mitch Randall of Norman, Oklahoma, and the other plaintiffs, he's kind of the lead plaintiff, kind of organizing everyone together. And the other plaintiffs also objected to parts of the standards that present disputed claims about the 2020 presidential election and COVID-19. So obviously they're wanting things to be taught in schools, such as the 2020 election is mishandled, Trump should have won.
Yes, which we did report on.
Yes.
Yes, I do remember we talked about this case a couple episodes ago, I think. Or just a couple episodes.
Yeah, so this is the second lawsuit that's been filed in connection with this whole situation. Yes.
Good.
Yes, exactly.
So glad they moved quickly on that.
Exactly, and actually something that that Mitch Randall said that I actually really agree with was he said in connection to kind of the publicity around this filing, he said, as a Christian, I object to Oklahoma's new social studies standards that require teachers to deceive students by presenting inaccurate information as fact. And
I love that. Yes, I love that.
Me too. Tell them, Mr. Randall.
Yes.
Tell them.
So, this news intrigues me for a couple of reasons. Okay? So, as we know, Marcus is really dedicated to HEKA-TEA, super all about her. And, you know, I have a whole, and I'll get into it later, and I do have a short that I posted on my YouTube channel that is about, like, how I came to HEKA-TEA, how HEKA-TEA called to me, and how I encountered her in my life, etc. But, long story short, she's always been present, and there's been a lot of synchronicities that have continued to emerge throughout my life that I'm just like, holy shit, like, another reason, of course, I am dead, HEKA-TEA picked me.
Right.
Like, of course, like, so... This is one of them, and it all is interesting. So I was born in Bellingham, Washington, which is right at this last stop of city of the Pacific Northwest of Washington before you cross into Canada, and then the next big city is Vancouver, and in between that is the San Juan Islands and Vancouver Island, and within that is the Strait of HEKA-TEA.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So this is Vancouver, actually, in Canada, the British Columbia, Vancouver, British, has actually a lot of things named after HEKA-TEA. And what's more interesting is HEKA-TEA is the goddess of wind, storms, etc., right? And the seas. And this is a strait in the sea. We'll get into all this. So there's backstory about why I'm excited about this. So, Oceanic Wind Energy Incorporated, so Oceanic, is proud to announce a major milestone in the advancement of the offshore wind project in HEKA-TEA Strait, located just west of Stevens Island, in partnership with Tisamishian. I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this. It is a tribal name, and probably not going to pronounce it correctly. Tismishian Enterprises, Oceanic has been jointly granted an investigative use permit, an IUP, for the first phase of development, targeting a capacity of 600 to 700 megawatt CTE. HEKA-TEA Strait is in northwest British Columbia, is home to one of the world's most powerful and consistent wind resources, with Class 7 wind conditions, which 7 is her sacred number. Yeah. Winds are sacred to her. It's in the sea. It's a strait.
Cool. I love that.
Low shear and turbidity. Average annual wind speeds exceed 10 miles and a winter capacity factor of over 65%. The area offers an unparalleled opportunity to generate clean, reliable energy, especially during BC's peak demand season. Strategically located, the Oceanic Wind Project is uniquely positioned to deliver utility-scale renewable power to a region with growing energy needs and limited alternatives. The project could play a critical role in supporting the energy demands of the Port of Prince Rupert and the expanding industrial and resource sectors across northwest British Columbia. We look forward to working closely with Oceanic to develop this transformative project, said Ryan Layton, Director, Coast Tismishian Enterprises Ltd. Like I said, I'm going to mess up the pronunciation probably every time. This first phase will help power the region's growth while creating long-term economic and environmental benefits. Three local places, HEKA-TEA Park, HEKA-TEA Island, and HEKA-TEA Strait, which, it's interesting that those are three that bear her name. And it turns out that there's actually more places, but it's interesting that the main ones are three. And they pronounce it there HEKATE.
Oh, really?
Which is actually kind of technically the correct pronunciation.
Really?
It would be HEKATE.
Interesting.
Yeah. All pronunciations are correct, though. HEKA-TEA, 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 HEKATE. They're all correct in addressing her, and I actually use them interchangeably all the time when talking to her. There are actually 16 locations, which is interesting, as well as a fishing lodge and an inn. HEKA-TEA on Vancouver Island and in the surrounding areas. Let's see. This is the history behind it, though. So Vancouver Island, historically and presently, is the unceded traditional territory of the now I am not going to pronounce this, I am sorry, and the Nuu-chah-nulth and coastal Salish peoples. I know Salish because that's over here. In the 1800s, the British came and began their colonization of these lands as if they did not already belong to others. Obviously it did. In 1860, Captain George Henry Richards first came to BC from England to do survey work on the HMS Plummer until the ship was decommissioned. He then continued the work aboard the HMS HEKA-TEA. And so, obviously, he lands here. Captain Richards does survey work around Vancouver Island and the Sunshine Coast area for 2 years. So, by all accounts, he was a very kind and fair person. He was often called to break up disputes between the indigenous people and the white people. And he would invariably always apparently call out the whites as being in the wrong. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Apparently there are stories of him giving treats and gifts to the indigenous people and being generally very kind, as stated before. So in naming places around coastal BC, apparently, if the indigenous names were kept as much as possible, which
that's awesome.
Was not common back then.
No.
But if it wasn't named already, or if the indigenous name could not be used because of pronunciation or anything else, then those places would be given new names. And Captain Richards did a lot of that naming.
Okay.
And some of that naming was for his crew. One was for his favorite racehorse.
Oh.
So there was a list of all the places named HEKA-TEA or HEKATE on and around Vancouver Island. So I'm going to go through those, starting from the south and moving upward north and over to the Sunshine Coast. There's HEKA-TEA Passage, which is at the east of the Chain Inlets and west of Plummer Passage. There's HEKA-TEA Park at Cowichan Bay. There's HEKA-TEA Street. There's HEKA-TEA Mountain. That's northeast of the junction of Eucalest Inlet and Alberni Inlet. There's HEKA-TEA Bay, northwest of Mears Island and east of Catface Range. There's HEKA-TEA, which was an abandoned locality on the northeast side of Nootka Island. HEKA-TEA Lake, north end of Nootka Island, east of Saltry Bay. HEKA-TEA Channel, which is between Zabalos and Tahis Inlets. HEKA-TEA 17, from east shore of Zabalos, arm of Esperanza Inlet. There's HEKA-TEA Cove, as mentioned before. There was also the HEKA-TEA Cove Fishing Lodge. HEKA-TEA Island just north of Calvert Island, the HEKA-TEA Strait, which is between Haida, Guai, and mainland. There's HEKA-TEA Rock on the shoal in Duncan Bay, HEKA-TEA Rock at the Gulatin Channel and Mount Waddington, and the HEKA-TEA Reefs. So this might be reefs in the HEKA-TEA Strait. There's also HEKA-TEA Place, which is a street in Vancouver. Yeah, so they were named directly by Captain Richards between 1861 and 62. Then the other places also likely will have a name directly from those named by Richards. So in addition to supporting regional development, the project will contribute significantly to Canada's greenhouse gas reduction goals and reinforce British Columbia's leadership in cost-effective green energy generation.
Oh, wow.
So I just think, so why is that relevant? Well, obviously the environment and climate change, global warming, all that shit is relevant to everybody, but also as witches, it's particularly relevant.
Oh, yeah.
But that all these synchronicities aligned for HEKA-TEA to end up on the west, in the Pacific Northwest.
That is very interesting.
And between Vancouver the city, and Bellingham, in that set of islands, the San Juans and Vancouver Island, is where all these things named HEKA-TEA are. And like, but then everything associated with her is about wind energy and the sea, and then how like the synchronicity of the number 7, and like it's
That's
just
very interesting.
right.
Wow.
So again, it just goes back to how our deities, how these gods and goddesses, our ancestors, all these spirits, their science is in all these weird, strange ways confirming them.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? And like, it's just interesting that now like there's like all these things with HEKA-TEA in the name that are being used to. There's like the HEKA-TEA project that's out there, and which I think also deals with wind turbines. Like, it's all these things that are getting her name, and they're all dealing with like conservation and wind energy. So, but there was also just really a little history there too.
And you, as a HEKA-TEAN, could go there and go on a whole HEKA-TEA tour.
Well, apparently a lot of HEKA-TEAN witches do that,
and
feel drawn to it, and like now knowing about it, the first thing I want to do is I want to go to these spots and just pay respect to her as all these other HEKA-TEANs have done and witches have done, and I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, certainly here on our little baneful and blessed corner of the internet, we are one HEKA-TEAN, one Herian, and 0 holds barred.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that topic kind of leads into our next topic a little bit. Now, of course, just like in our last episode, I'm here to talk about archaeology.
Yay!
So, you know, if you're sitting there watching at home, just take a shot every time I mention archaeology.
Yes.
You'll be feeling real nice by the end of the news segment.
It's true.
So, archaeologists have resumed excavations at the ancient city of Troy in modern-day Turkey, hoping to uncover new evidence tied to the Trojan War.
Oh, like we've talked about
before.
Exactly,
just like we were talking about the last episode. The site, designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, boasts over 5,000 years of history and remains one of the most extensively studied locations in the ancient world. But oh no, it was a fictional war, right?
It didn't exist at all. Silly pagans, you're silly believing in your fairy tales.
This year's excavation is part of the ongoing Legacy for the Future project and is supported by the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism. Led by archaeologist and academic Rustam Aslan, the 2025 campaign focuses on layers from the Late Bronze Age, specifically those associated with the city's destruction around 1200 BC, often linked to the tale of the Trojan War, because it was.
Right.
The tale. That's what the news article says, not my words. Anyway, early in the season, researchers uncovered a cache of sling stones dating back 3,500 years. Found near the palace from Troy's 6th phase, the stones made of clay and river rock may offer insight into how the city was defended and attacked during the Bronze Age.
When the Trojan Wars took place.
Exactly.
For like 100 years.
Exactly. Such findings support the theory that this area was directly involved in violent events, such as the ones described in Homer's epics. Like a total...
Are we catching on yet, people? This all fucking happened.
Earlier excavations, led by Carl Blegan in the 1930s and Manfred Osman Korfman in the 1980s, revealed a burnt layer filled with skeletons, weapons, and destruction debris. That layer, associated with Troy's 6th and 7th phases, have long been seen as a potential marker of the city's fall. But oh no, we're just making shit up and pulling it out of our bootstraps.
Yep.
Right? Anyway, it's really interesting and cool to see that this has been studied for so long, excavated for so long, that all of the findings just indicate that these were the locations, these were the people who lived, and this is how the city fell.
Well, yeah, and when you go to places, like, and not just in Greece or Rome, but any of these ancient pagan worlds, there you go, and like they will tell, like, they can tell you where Aphrodite came from.
Right.
She literally came from the shores of Crete.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, they can tell you where Apollo and Artemis were born.
Exactly.
Like they can tell you, like, there are places, they have geographic, and this is This has been unbroken for millennia and millennia.
Exactly. Every deity in the pantheon has a specific location of their birth.
Correct. And here's the thing.
And you can visit all of those locations today because they're very much real places.
And the thing is, like, people are like, well, you know, sure, blah, 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 but they're like, the gods didn't have the type of influence on them that they say they did. Well, actually, yes, they would have, because you got to think about it. Back then, they were way more spiritually in tune as everyday people because they didn't have fucking TV. They didn't have, this was before the Enlightened era in that sense. Like, this was before technology, before science came along and kind of started giving the scientific explanation for everything. So people were more in tune to the spirit in everyday life, which meant that the deities had way more influence on things like the kings and queens of differing places and things like that, because everyone was way more spiritually focused. And yes, they were smart and they were a civilized society and learned, but they were also primitive in comparison to our society. And so the spirit world was still so much more of a everyday thought and influence and reality that the deities had way more influence on the collective peoples back then. And so true. Like, had back then they had the same kind of distractions we have now, I guarantee you the stories would not be talking about how this deity or that deity influenced the king or tricked the king. But when you go over to where fucking you know, the island where the Minoan culture is, the Roman culture is, the labyrinth of the Minotaur exists. Like, the temple is this, exactly what you hear in the story of the Minotaur, literally physically exists and dates back to when, like, it's
undeniable.
It's all there. It all happened in some form or another. And yeah, I do think that maybe there was a child born with a deformity that was bull-like. Not saying that he came out exactly as described, but neither did the elephant man was not an elephant. Like, so I think it may have been a case like that, but because of the times back then, how a child like that would have been treated by the king father, they would have been chained down in a pit. Like, that shit happened. Savage shit like that actually did happen all the time.
I mean, just look at the rest of the history of the world. Things like that were still happening in America in the 1930s. You know?
So I think, and from there, and I think it was called the Minotaur, and I do think that, I think he did have a relationship with Poseidon. I do think he pissed Poseidon off, and I do think a birth was influenced. Do I think the mother fucked a bull? No. I mean, maybe, but probably not. But I think that maybe it was used to explain the deformity of the child, but do I believe that, yes, he pissed off, he offended Poseidon, and Poseidon punished him, and that was the result, and then from there, after a few hundred years, then, you know, Homer and all them come along, and they talk about a Minotaur? Sure. Absolutely. I'm sure that, but it doesn't change the fact that all of it still happened. And right now, the pagan world is proving more validity to their legends and stories than Christians actually are producing, which I find fucking hilarious.
I do. I love that.
All right. So a new exhibit is opening at the DePaul Art Museum in Chicago, titled Witches, Bitches, Witchcraft as Empowerment. It's going to run September 10th, 2026 through February 7th, 2027. Now, this could tentatively change. If it doesn't, I will make a note to make sure we remind all of you again. The description says that witches are guardians of suppressed forms of knowledge. They channel ancestral wisdom and embodied practices that have long been dismissed or feared. Visionary agents of transformation, spiritual practitioners conjure alternative futures through acts of resistance, imagination, and care. Witches, Bitches, Witchcraft as Empowerment explores the rise of the occult, new spirituality, and magic in contemporary culture, and reads it as a symptom of undergoing social transformations. Featuring contemporary artists who challenge dominant systems of patriarchy and colonialism to reclaim power on their own terms, this exhibition situates the practice of witchcraft into the past, present, and future, acknowledging it as a form of feminist and political empowerment, and a radical proposition for a fully decolonial way of being. Witches, Bitches brings together works that engage with the iconography, stereotypes, and active practices of witchcraft to explore themes of spiritual power, collective energy, alternative cosmologies, and environmental consciousness. The exhibition features work spanning from the 1970s to the present by about 30 women-identifying international artists from different generations. Some of them self-identify with witchcraft or draw on practices of magic and spirituality, while others engage these themes through a critical and defiant lens. The exhibition will be accompanied by a robust public program, including a talk series with public scholars and authors specializing in witchcraft, workshops and spellcasting with witchcraft practitioners, programming for families, performances, panel discussions with artists from different generations, and film screenings. Witches, Bitches, Witchcraft as Empowerment is co-curated by Ayan Behar, PhD, DPAM Curator, and Magdalena Moskowitz, PhD, Chief Curator and Associate Director for Curational Affairs, Sheldon Museum of Art, and organized by DePaul Art Museum. Support for this exhibition is provided by the Andy Warhol Foundation for Visual Arts. Wonderful.
Yes.
I bet it's going to be awesome. I'm just really annoyed by, once again, the centering of it as just feminism and like, this is gay erasure, this is queer erasure, which, I'm sorry, but the witchcraft community, I will tell you right now, has more queers in it than it does cis women.
Yes.
I'm just going to be queers of all spectrums and race, etc. But there are more queers who are witches than anybody else. And if you go back to the histories of the pagan societies, there's a reason why. And let's just remember, up until the burning times, up until Matthew Hopkins, and up until King James, the majority of people tried for witchcraft were men.
Yes.
And then King James, and pushed by Matthew Hopkins and pushed by this misogyny, the eye switched. The Malleus switched the eye to it being on women and homosexuals. We also forget the Malleus talks about homosexuals. Like, this.
And I feel like so often when you do see male witches acknowledged, it's just very much as this afterthought.
Yeah, it's like a paragraph maybe.
And it's still stating that like the majority of the victims were women.
And we know this not to
be
true.
Which is not true.
There were some villages where it was all children. There were villages where it was just adult men. There were villages where it was just boys and teen boys. There were villages where it was all males of all ages, villages where it was all females of all ages, and et cetera, et cetera. Some where it was just animals, cats and dogs, and that was it. Like, there was a lot more going on there.
Yeah, I just think that we really have to stop reframing this as an attack on women and making it a feminist issue.
Yes.
When yes, that was a big part of the issue, but the root issue was witches, was the supernatural, was demons and devils.
Yes, and we also have to remember that that intersected with the Inquisition, which came before it, started up before it, and those intersected with each other. And then the Inquisition, as it died down, the fucking witch trials, the burning times just continued on. Like, but there was a time there for like 200 years where they were existing hand in hand with each other. Like, one was dying out while one was kicking off, but they were intersecting with each other.
Right.
And then before that, you have just when Christianity and the Judeo-Christian sects were punishing pagans and doing their fucking convert or die shit, and that was not based on gender, biological sex either. It was just pagans, heathens, that was it. Like, these things all intersected with each other, and during the witch trials all over the world, including Salem, there were men, there were boys, and 2 or 3 of the executed were male, not counting all those in prison. Like, I still see the importance of it.
Of course.
But we gotta stop beating that fucking drum. I'm sorry. Because right now it's become queer erasure at this point. Like,
I agree.
It's become misandry at this point. Like, yeah.
I think it's actually kind of similar to like what you were talking about on the HEKA-TEA topic, where people just kind of will focus on one particular aspect of her and either not address or not even take the time to become aware of all of the other aspects that make up who she is.
Yeah.
And I think that. Sorry for the road noise.
Yes. Open windows and all.
Yes, because we don't want to die. I think that kind of mind frame, zeroing in on one aspect and the erasure and acknowledgement of any of the others, that really does translate to the situation as well, with the way that the burning times and the persecution of witches is being spoken about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I'm excited for it, and I hope to be able to attend this.
Me too.
Out in advance.
Yeah, I would love to attend.
That sounds like something doable.
Exactly. Plus, I've never been to Chicago before.
No, neither. So that would be great.
I mean, I know for me personally, I would just pretend that I was in Some Like It Hot the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
For me, I was in Poltergeist 3.
Oh, yeah. there's so many cultural moments to draw
or
upon.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yes, or that. So moving on to our next news story, trying to get the joy out of my voice because this is a little bit of a sad and awful story.
Because there was at least 1 or 2.
Exactly. So this comes out of Bihar, India.
Okay.
So a group of villagers beat a family of 5 to death and dumped their corpses in a lake.
Jeez.
Accusing them of practicing witchcraft.
Of course.
After the death of a boy, Indian police said on Tuesday, 3 people have been arrested and confessed to the crime.
Okay.
3 women, including a 75-year-old, were among those murdered. The murders and victims all belonged to, and I apologize in advance for the butchery, to India's Orion tribe in Bihar. This is India's poorest state and mainly a Hindu region of at least 130 million people. Some states, including Bihar, have introduced laws to try and curb crimes against people accused of witchcraft and superstition, which is great.
Yeah.
And definitely something that's very needed in the area because according to the National Crime Records Bureau, between 2010 and 2021, more than 1,500 people, both male and female, have been killed in India on suspicion of witchcraft.
Like, we're still being killed. Now, in most of these cases, they're not guilty of anything. But in some of these cases, people are. They are practicing witches. And we've reported on cases where they were, but they weren't hurting anybody. Like, and we've reported on a lot of cases where they were not.
Right. In fact, I think the only case we have reported on where someone was being injured by a witch was the cats from last episode.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's we've been at our channel for almost a year now.
Yeah.
And that's been, we put out our show twice a month.
Yep.
So in all of that time, we've stumbled across one.
Yes.
Where someone has been hurt.
Clearly, for those of you who have watched us and joined and followed us by now, and you know that we don't keep it polite.
No.
And we are definitely not biased. We are definitely
absolutely not
judgy. We will read headlines that do make our side look not always the best.
Exactly.
But that's the way it is. That's reality. And, but I mean, most of the time the violence that we report is not from our side.
No.
It's from their side. And by theirs, I don't mean just Christians, but I mean just people who persecute and are afraid of witchcraft, magical practitioners, etc. So,
Right.
ugh,
Yeah. So that's awful.
just ugh, it needs to stop.
Oh, I know. And especially just like the sheer amount of people who have been murdered just in India and just over the past, 10
Not
to
even a
15
year.
years.
Right. Well, and not only that, but just how much we've reported on since literally starting
Oh,
witchcraft
yeah,
in the news.
exactly.
Like, we aren't even in a year yet of the
No.
show, and certainly not even a year yet into witchcraft in the news, because that came after.
Oh,
We
yeah.
figured that out like 1 or 2 episodes in or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, so this is, and we've already reported on this type of shit in India
So many
times. All right, well, switch gears back to archaeology.
Woo!
So this story comes out of Baghdad in Iraq.
Okay.
Archaeologists and AI specialists have uncovered a nearly 3,000-year-old Babylonian hymn that celebrates the grandeur of ancient Babylon, offering a rare and poetic glimpse into early urban society, education, and religious life. The rediscovered text, likely composed around 1000 BCE and written in cuneiform, was pieced together from over 30 clay tablets, thanks to artificial intelligence tools developed by researchers from Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich, so LMU, and the University of Baghdad. Published in the Journal of Iraq in March 2025, the hymn is part of a broader project led by Professor Dr. Enrique Jimenez of LMU's Institute of Assyrianology. Jimenez and co-researcher Dr. Hamar Fadil identified fragments of the same poem across dozens of tablets using the Electronic Babylonian Library, the EBL, platform, a powerful AI-assisted system designed to speed the reconstruction and publication of ancient Mesopotamian texts. Using our AI-supported platform, we managed to identify 30 other manuscripts that belong to the rediscovered hymn, said Jimenez. This allowed the team to reconstruct most of the original poem, estimated at 250 lines, despite the fragmentary and damaged nature of many surviving tablets. The result is one of the most vivid literary rediscoveries in recent decades. The author immortalized his devotion to a city, gods, and people in words that resonated until the final decades of cuneiform culture, the researchers note. The hymn opens with lofty praise for Marduk, the patron god of Babylon, calling him by many divine titles, including the guardian of Eskil, his temple. It continues with a divine blessing from other gods, extolling Marduk's influence over the fundamental elements of life, governed by the god Anu, Enlil, and I. The researchers noted that these elements represent the building blocks of the cosmos in Babylonian theology. So, so the whole, though about 1/3 of the hymn remains lost, and its ending is largely fragmentary, what survives is a powerful celebration of a civilization that once stood at the heart of the ancient world. It's a fascinating hymn that describes Babylon in all its majesty and gives insights into the lives of its inhabitants, male and female, said Jimenez. So with the help of modern tools like AI, scholars are continuing to unearth long-lost voices from the past, voices that, even after 3 millennia, still speak to the pride, poetry, and complexity of ancient urban life. So what does the reconstructed hymn say? It says, the Euphrates is her river, established by wise Lord Nudimund. It quenches the Lee and saturates the canebrake, disgorges its waters into lagoon and sea, its fields burgeon with herbs and flowers, its meadows in brilliant bloom sprout barley, from which gathered sheaves are stacked, herds and flocks lie on verdant pastures, wealth and splendor, what befit mankind, are bestowed, multiplied, and regally granted.
That's beautiful.
That
I
is
love
beautiful.
that. So next up, New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City earlier this month.
Yes.
MAGA activists and Christian nationalists have been having a meltdown, of course.
Oh, of course.
Over the prospect of a Muslim becoming the mayor. Right-wing pastor Lorenzo Sewell, who delivered the benediction at Donald Trump's inauguration earlier this year, warned that Mamdani could be, quote, a son of Satan.
Oh, God.
So here is what he said in the full context of which it was said. And believe me, it is Looney Tunes.
Okay.
He said, New York is a gateway city, and the Bible says that we would possess the gates of our enemies. The Church of the Living God, we need to begin to pray that God would raise up men and women of God in New York that would be wise as a serpent but harmless as a dove, that they would be bold as lions but as gentle as a lamb, because this man, his soul is lost. He could be a son of Satan. We don't know that, but we need to be praying that God would break this stronghold.
Oh my God.
So it's all just fear-mongering and putting these ideas into people's heads. Meanwhile, you yourself are admitting you have no basis for it.
Well, because this is all about the end times. This is all about the tribulation, the rapture. This is all about the coming of the Antichrist.
Yes.
Like, this is what this is all about. And they're so desperate to make it happen.
Yes.
As we've talked about a gazillion times, especially through pagan invasion, which we are not, as you know, Sabbath episode, special episode, no pagan invasion nightmare.
No PG.
No PG.
Wait, no. It would be PI.
PI. No PI. No PI. PGI. I don't know. But anyway, this is all wrapped up in rapture tribulation, which turns out wasn't even a thing until the 1800s, until like the 1830s.
Yes.
And it was inspired by the dream of a young Irish 12-year-old girl. And she relayed this dream of hers, of her being left behind and people rising up to heaven, butt-ass naked, clothes left behind, some were left here, and blah, 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 the shit. And from that, this guy went through the Bible, went through Revelations, and pieced a bunch together to come up. We'll actually talk about this in a future episode, and I'll actually, with names and shit, I'm just giving you a brief summary of what this is and how it's not even
canonical?
Yes. I would say canonical.
I mean, it's probably not that either.
Yeah, but it's not, yeah, it's just not part of canon.
Yes.
It's not canon. So anyway, yeah, it's just so stupid.
It really is. Oh my gosh. But not surprising.
So, the Satanic Grotto, if we remember them, in
sure
Topeka, Kansas, yes. The group behind the Black Mass that was going to take place at the Kansas State House, and they're planning on doing it again, but they were denied a permit. So the group behind the Black Mass in March, the Kansas State House, which drew thousands of counter-protesters and ended in multiple arrests, was denied a permit to hold another protest this summer. Michael Stewart, the Satanic Grotto leader, says the denial is religious discrimination. Adam Prophet, the Kansas Secretary of Administration, says the permit was denied because of safety concerns and violence at the last protest, because he punched a dude. Stewart was planning a witching hour protest from 9 p.m. to midnight on August 2nd, with the same sentiment as the Black Mass, to end Christian favoritism within our state government, as the group's Facebook post reads. This isn't just a permit denial, it's an outright cancellation of our right to protest, fueled by what appears to be a deeply biased agenda, Stewart said in a news release. The state of Kansas is actively working to silence voices that challenge the status quo, especially those from minority faiths and marginalized communities. Stewart told the Kansas Reflector that his permit request was flat out ignored for a few weeks, and he only got a response after he showed up in person. That's true, that's bullshit. In response to a Kansas Reflector request for comment, the Department of Administration spokesman Samir Arif pointed to a response Prophet had given to Stewart. The state has increased safety concerns regarding any event occurring on the South Steps after sundown, including whether adequate Kansas Highway Patrol resources are available to address these safety concerns after dark, Prophet wrote. In the news release, Stewart said Capitol Police Chief Brandon Bichelle told him he had no reservations about the police's ability to maintain security. Bichelle did not respond to a Kansas Reflector request for comment. Additionally, I declined to grant permission to you on behalf of the organization due to improper acts that occurred when a previous permit space on the State House grounds was granted to you for an event that occurred in March 2025, referencing the Black Mass. So, what happened on the day of, a 21-year-old from Wisconsin named Marcus Schroeder, who had been charged previously with making a false bomb threat on a pride parade, had attempted to grab Stewart's copy of the Satanic Bible twice, and Stewart punched Schroeder in the face twice, which resulted in both of their arrests. So he went on, your conduct created a risk to public safety, violated the terms of your permit, and caused injury to another person. Shawnee County prosecutors decided not to pursue charges against Stewart. Restrictions didn't stop Stewart at the last protest, but, you know, that's that. My opinion on this was, I don't know. I don't know if the guy needed to be punched. Maybe you could have shoved him.
Right.
Like, I feel like, was it just? No. Was it unconstitutional? For sure. Like, you should have a right to assemble. This is clear discrimination.
100%.
But, like, also, you've kind of also fed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just kind of, I don't know. Fight the good fight, but don't punch.
Exactly. Because, I mean, as much as I do understand the desire to punch this man in the face.
Yes.
When you are protesting as a witchy organization.
And if you're a Satanist, we all know that goes hand in hand because so many, it still involves the occult. It still involves magical practice.
Exactly. Right? So you are kind of being, in that moment, the public's face of the
Exactly.
occult. And if you do something like that, then they get to turn around and say, oh, those violent witches.
Yes.
So these are just things that if you are going to organize and protest, which you absolutely should, but if you're going to do it, you need to be aware of those things and handle your own behavior and your reactions accordingly from the time that you enter to the time that you exit.
Exactly.
So bringing us to our next topic.
And our last.
Yes, and our last. I am bringing the train into the station and I am heading up the caboose.
Right.
The IRS announced on July 7th, 2025, that it would no longer enforce restrictions of the Johnson Amendment against churches that engage in political speech during religious services. I almost said religious rallies. No, not quite that. This reinterpretation came as part of a legal settlement with the National Religious Broadcasters, aka the NRB, Intercessors for America, and 2 separate Texas churches. Mm-hmm. The plaintiffs claimed that the rule infringed upon their First Amendment rights to free speech and religious expression, as well as the protections under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act and the Fifth Amendment. The IRS and the religious groups agreed that when a church talks to its members during services about political matters from a faith-based perspective, it should not be considered participating in or intervening in a political campaign.
But it is. It literally is.
It is.
Because the whole reason why is because people are influenced by their churches, by their faith leaders, by their religious community leaders. That's literally...
I know.
Not that it hasn't been happening this entire time.
Of course,
I mean, this is how literally the whole fucking Christian moral majority even happened. Like,
but to say publicly that it is not,
fine.
like, now, of course, obviously, this was to avoid further litigation.
Yes.
But still.
And not have to pay tax. It's just to avoid paying taxes. Because so many of them live very cushy lifestyles from the tithings they bring in.
Exactly. As part of the deal, the IRS agreed not to enforce the Johnson Amendment against the 2 plaintiff churches under these specific circumstances. In return, the plaintiffs agreed to drop all remaining claims in the lawsuit and not to seek further legal action. So really, this is all about the litigation. That's all it's about. Both sides also agreed not to appeal the decision and to pay their own legal costs. Rachel Laser, president and CEO of Americans United for Separations of Church and State, condemned the reinterpretation as a brazen attack on church-state separation that threatens our democracy by favoring houses of worship over other nonprofits and inserting them into partisan politics. 100%. Also, Rachel Laser, what a badass name.
Totally. I agree 1,000%.
Anyway, so Ms. Laser emphasized that the law has protected the integrity of both religious institutions and elections for over 70 years. The consent judgment now awaits approval by the court. If granted, it would only apply to the named plaintiff churches, but could pave the way for similar reinterpretations nationwide. So this is obviously very terrifying.
Oh my God.
I know.
Well,
so a little bit of a bummer note to end Witchcraft in the News, but sometimes that's how it happens.
Yeah, that's the world we live in.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna undo ourselves, and we will be right back with Lughnasadh, or Lammas, or the first of the harvest festivals.
Exactly, whichever you choose to observe.
All right, so we are back, being a little less dewy.
Yes.
For our main topic, Lammas, or Lughnasadh, or just Loaf Day, actually. Loaf-Mass Day. You're like, Loaf-Mass Day? Oh, yes. So, Lammas itself, the L-A-M-M-A-S, that actually comes from the Old English Hof-Mass, which means Loaf-Mass. So, it's a Christian holiday that is still celebrated in some English-speaking countries on August 1st. The name originates from the word loaf in reference to bread, and Mass in reference to the Eucharist. So it is actually a festival in the liturgical calendar to mark the blessing of the first fruits of harvest. So the first fruits actually comes from Lughnasadh, which, yes, obviously there's that intersect, which we will explore. So that's celebrating with a loaf of bread being brought to the church for this purpose. Lammas Tide falls at the halfway point between the summer solstice and the autumnal equinox. Christians also have church processions to bakeries in these areas where it was celebrated, where those working therein are blessed by Christian clergy. While Lammas is traditionally a Christian holy day, as we know, many neo-pagans, Wiccans, witches, have adopted the name and date for one of their harvest festivals in the Wheel of the Year, which is also the same date as the Gaelic harvest festival, Lughnasadh. The name, again, comes from Loaf Mass. So several antiquarians actually suggest that the name Lammas came from Lamb Mass. John Brady authored that suppose that the tenants of the Cathedral of York, dedicated to St. Peter in Chains, of which this is a feast, were required to bring a live lamb to the church on August 1st. Another name for the feast of the Middle Ages was the Gull of August. It has been suggested, following the 18th century Welsh clerical antiquary John Pentingall, that this is an Anglicization of Aust. Sorry, it's Welsh. I don't speak Welsh. Which is for the Feast of August.
In Christianity, the offering of first fruits to God is described in the Old Testament, which depicts how when the harvest ripened, the priest went into the field and gathered a sheaf of first ripened grain. Then he took that sheaf into the temple and waved it before the Lord.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Waved it high before the Lord.
Above the Lord's face. Anyway.
Lord, it's hot in here.
It really is. Maybe someone's been waving it too
a little too hard and bringing them heat winds, those heat waves, those hot flashes.
Exactly. So the didache of the early church enjoyed first fruits, be given of money, clothes, and all of your possessions.
Bullshit.
Right.
Greedy bitches.
I know.
We're supposed to live in humbleness and poverty and vow of poverty and
Exactly. And no, that is a direct quote from the passage in the Bible.
Right.
So in Anglo-Saxon England, Lammas was the name for the first day of August, and was described in Old English literature as the Feast of First Fruits, often mentioned in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. It was probably the day when loaves baked from the first of the wheat harvest were blessed in the church.
Okay.
So the loaves might then have been used in protective rituals.
Oh, yeah, like how they would take the eggs.
Yeah, exactly.
And be blessed, yeah.
But for a different season.
Right.
A book of Anglo-Saxon charms directed that the Lammas loaf be broken into 4 parts, which were then to be placed at the forward corners of the barn to protect the grain. So that's interesting.
That is.
The wheat must have run low in the days before Lammas, and the new harvest began a season of plenty, of hard work and company in the fields, reaping in teams.
Mm-hmm.
In the medieval agricultural year, Lammas also marked the end of the hay harvest that began after midsummer. At the end of haymaking, a sheep would be loosed in the meadow among the mowers for him to keep who could catch it.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I know. I think that's all very interesting. Historian Ronald Hutton writes that the time that the first harvest could be gathered would have been a natural point for celebration in the agrarian society. He says it's likely that a pre-Christian festival had existed among the Anglo-Saxons on that date. Folklorist, and I'm sure I'm butchering the name, so I apologize in advance.
Sorry.
We are not, well, I am not Gaelic.
Right.
Folklorist Mary McNeil.
Let me see. Mary McNeil.
Mary McNeil linked Lammas with the insular Celtic harvest festival Lughnasadh held on the same date and suggested that the Anglo-Saxons adopted it from Celtic Britons. She highlighted the apparent lack of a continental Germanic festival on the 1st of August, and just like you were talking about, the apparent borrowing of the Welsh name Gwyl Ost, or Gwyl of August.
Okay, yeah.
Hutton says that McNeil's thesis of a pan-Celtic seasonal ritual, like her reconstruction of pagan rites, is so far unproven, and to prove it would involve a detailed knowledge of the religious calendar of the Anglo-Saxons before they arrived in England, which is impossible. So it seems like he might just be a little butthurt.
Right, it sounds like a little biased. He's probably Christian,
right.
too. Like, that's the thing. Is usually, like, you look into the background of these people,
right.
You know, they're usually, maybe they teach at Anglican University,
right.
Like, they're still scientists, they're still anthropologists, they're still antiquarians, but they're also very religiously biased.
Right.
And we know that pagans are not religiously biased in how we talk about things, approach history, etc.
Exactly.
But people of the Judeo-Christian faith, especially Christians, are very biased, and they're very like, no, this is ours, and they will fucking find some whatever they can to grasp and be like, no, this didn't come from something pagan. It was ours first, like, because we have this little turd right here, and this turd says this, like, even though everything else around the turd says no.
Which, frankly, everything that McNeil said made complete and total perfect sense to me. Like,
well, absolutely.
I see
the parallels between Lughnasadh and then what became the Lammas Festival, like.
And I feel like he's not really explaining why the parallels don't work. He's just saying, oh, it's unproven, there's nothing.
Right. So once again, Lammas Day was actually one of the traditional Scottish quarter days before 1886. And as mentioned before, it coincided with the Feast of St. Peter in Chains, which commemorated St. Peter's miraculous deliverance from prison. But in the liturgical reform of 1969, the Feast of St. Alphonsus Liguori was transferred to this day. So Anne Lewin explains that the Christian Feast of Lammas, Loaf Mass Day, and its importance in the liturgical year. So August begins with Lammas Day, or Loaf Mass Day, the day in the Book of Common Prayer calendar when a loaf baked with flour from newly harvested corn will be brought into the church and blessed. It's one of the oldest points of contact between the agricultural world and the church. The others were Plough Sunday in early January, the Sunday after Epiphany, and the day before work would begin again in the fields after Christmas festivities, when ploughs would be brought to the church to be blessed, and Rogation Days in May, the days before Ascension Day, when God's blessing would be sought on the growing crops. And Ascension is, if I remember, it was the 15th, the Blessed Mary of Ascension, as Queen of Heaven, which is my birthday, when God's blessing would be sought on the growing crops. Today in the Church of England, the mother church of the Anglican Communion, during the celebration of Holy Communion, the Lammas loaf, or part of it, may actually be used as the bread of the Eucharist, or the Lammas loaf and the Eucharistic bread may be kept separate. And the common worship specifies that the Lammas loaf should ideally be baked by members of the congregation using local produce wherever possible. So I emphasis on that harvest, that it's all about the harvest. Other small loaves or buns in the tradition of blessed bread may be distributed to the congregation. And so part of the Lammas loaf may be used as the Eucharistic bread on this occasion. And two patterns of readings are suggested, that in the first concerning the offering of the first fruits, and the second concerning the bread of life. So Christians also, again, have church processions to the bakeries, blessing those by the Christian clergy. In fact, in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, it is observed of Juliet that come Lammas Eve, at night shall she, Juliet, be 14. Another well-known cultural reference is the opening of the Battle of Otterburn.
So Juliet is a Leo, that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure. It fell about the Lammas tide when the muirmen win their hay. Again, as we've mentioned, many neo-pagans, witches, especially Wiccans, because the Wheel of the Year is really kind of their thing, have adopted the name and date of Lammas to coincide with the more provincial, locale-oriented celebration of Lughnasadh, making it one of the harvest festivals in their Wheel of the Year. It's the first of the 3 autumn festivals, again, Mabon, or the autumn equinox, and of course Samhain. In the northern hemisphere, it takes place around August 1st, while in the southern, it is celebrated around February 1st. So, Lughnasadh is a Gaelic festival, again, marking the beginning. So Lughnasadh itself. So now we've talked about Lammas, we're going into Lughnasadh. So Lughnasadh itself is a Gaelic festival that marks the beginning of the harvest season. Historically, it was widely observed throughout Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. Traditionally, it is held on the 1st of August, but would actually go through till the 15th of August. And the Isle of Man, originally, it was held on the 1st of August, about halfway between summer solstice and autumn equinox. So in recent centuries, I can't talk. It is. Some celebrations have shifted to Sundays nearer to the date versus it being on August 1st. Lughnasadh being one of the 4 Gaelic seasonal festivals, along with Samhain, Imbolc, and Beltane. And it corresponds with, again, the Welsh Wild Oust. I feel so bad saying that wrong. I'm so sorry to all you Welshians. Are you called Welshians or Welsh people? Oh, just Welsh people. My apologies to all you Welsh people watching. Right. I do not mean, neither of us mean to butcher your language. In early Irish literature, Lughnasadh is mentioned about having pagan origins. The festival is named after the god Lugh, and in the Middle Ages it involved great gatherings that include ceremonies, athletic contests, most notably the Tailteann Games, horse racing, feasting, and the Tailteann Games were kind of like a Gaelic Olympics, basically. Feasting, matchmaking, and trading. According to folklorist Mara McNeil, she keeps popping up, evidence suggests that the religious rites included an offering of the first fruits, a feast of the new food, the sacrifice of a bull, and a ritual dance play. In recent centuries, Lughnasadh gatherings have typically been held atop hills and mountains, including many of the same activities that went on centuries and centuries and centuries ago.
Well, that is really cool.
Yeah.
So the festival persisted widely until the 20th century with the event called Garland Sunday, Bilberry Sunday, Mountain Sunday, and Crom Dubh Sunday. Again, my apologies for the mispronunciations. I'm trying. I know I'm not doing very well.
Right.
So the tradition of climbing hills and mountains at Lughnasadh has survived in some areas, and of course is recast as a Christian pilgrimage.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
They really love their recasts, don't they?
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
So the best known is the Reek Sunday pilgrimage to the top of Croagh Patrick on the last Sunday in July.
Okay.
Yes. Several fairs are also believed to be survivors of Lughnasadh, such as the Puck Fair. Since the late 20th century, Celtic neo-pagans have observed Lughnasadh or something based on it as a religious holiday. In some places, festival elements have been revived as a cultural event. Interestingly enough, the old Irish name was Lughnasadh with a D. This is a combination of Lugh, as in the god Lugh, and Nasad, which means an assembly.
Oh, okay.
Which I find really interesting.
I do too.
Another theory was that it originated from the word Nas, which means death, rather than Nasad. I personally think Nasad makes more sense, but that's me.
I agree, the pronunciation,
In modern Irish, the spelling is Lughnasadh, without the D or the GH, just ending with an A, which is also the name for August.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. In modern Scottish Gaelic, the festival and the month are both called Lughnasadh, and in Manx, the festival and the month are both called Lughnasadh. Sorry again. The date itself may either be called La Lughnasadh or La Lughnasadh. In Welsh, the date is known as Caelan Ost, originally a Latin term meaning the Calends of August again. And in Breton, the date is known as Gwyl Ost, which is the Feast of August.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I find that like etymological root type of stuff really interesting.
Agreed. So thank you for that etymological knowledge, as always.
I can always be counted upon to break down some suffixes and prefixes.
Yes. So, in Irish mythology, Lughnasadh is said to have been founded by the god Lugh as a funeral feast and athletic competition, so funeral games, to commemorate the death of an earth goddess. So Irish myths about Lughnasadh and Lughnasadh sites tend to feature a woman who is carried off or held against her will, kind of like Persephone. So a story about the Lughnasadh site of Tailteann says the festival was founded by Lugh as a funeral games in memory of his foster mother, Tailteann. She was said to have died of exhaustion after clearing the plains of Ireland for agriculture. Tailteann may have been an earth goddess who represented the dying vegetation that fed mankind. Another tale about the assembly site of Nas says that Lugh founded the festival in memory of his 2 wives, the sisters Nas and Boyd. One theory is that it was a mourning or wake for the end of summer. Which I really like that concept.
I really do too.
That it could possibly have been about mourning, that Lughnasadh was about mourning the end of summer. Like, I mean, I think we've all felt that, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we've all, especially growing up as kids, you feel that that sadness of the end of summer. And rarely ever excitement about going back to school. Usually a dread for many reasons, but sometimes just because you're going back to losing your freedom, this freedom you had in the sun and relished in for 3 months, you know? So folklorist Mary McNeil, once again, I think it's actually Marie. It might be Marie, pronounced Marie, and that's the Gaelic spelling. But
it could be Myra.
Or Myra. It could be Myra. If we're screwing up your name, we're so sorry.
Like, if you know how this is truly pronounced, please let us know, because I am actually very interested. I love names. I love etymology. Like, I would be very interested to find out what the root of this name is and how to properly say it.
Now, we keep quoting her because she is she's very knowledgeable on the subject,
Yes.
and a lead, antiquarian in terms of Lughnasadh, Lammas, Celtic folklore and celebration and stuff. So, so, that's again why the critique from the other person,
Yes.
I felt it just seemed very biased
Yeah.
towards Christianity, because clearly we've already now presented the
Right.
early pre-Christian connection to it. That's basically has backed up what she has found in her own studies.
Exactly.
So she has studied the later folklore traditions of Lughnasadh and concludes that the main themes is the struggle for the harvest between two gods. One god, usually called Crom Dub, in later folklore, guards the grains as his treasure. The other god, Lugh, must seize it for mankind. Sometimes this was portrayed as a struggle over a woman called Etine, it's, again, don't know how it's actually supposed to be pronounced, because the way a lot of Gaelic words look is not how they sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Who represents the grain. Lugh also fights and defeats a figure representing blight. MacNeil says that these themes can be seen in earlier Irish mythology, particularly in the tale of Lugh defeating Balor, which seems to represent the overcoming of blight, drought, and the scorching summer sun. In surviving folklore, Lugh is usually replaced by St. Patrick. While Crom Dub is a pagan chief who owns a granary or a bull and who opposes Patrick, but is overcome and converted. That's how someone gets miracles attached to them, because they're a real person, living person, who then get ascribed these pagan liturgical stories. Let's see. Crom Dub is likely the same figure as Crom Cruach, and shares some traits with the Dagda and Don. And the Dagda is, I believe, if I remember correctly, a war god, goddess figure.
Yeah, I've definitely heard the name before.
Yeah. He may be based on an underworld god or goddess like Hades, Pluto, or Persephone. His lady might be like Persephone, who kidnaps the grain goddess, but is forced to let her return to the world above before harvest time.
Oh, it sounds familiar.
Right.
So from the 18th century through the mid-20th century, many Lughnasadh customs and folklore were recorded. In 1962...
Oh, nice. Unlike Ostara.
Right, exactly. It's always nice when you do have that paper trail to rely on,
yeah.
Unlike with Eost.
Right.
Yes. So in 1962, a book called The Festival of Lughnasadh, which is a study of Lughnasadh by guess who? MacNeil was published. She studied surviving Lughnasadh customs and folklore, as well as earlier accounts of medieval writings about the festival. She concluded that the evidence testified to the existence of an ancient festival around August 1st that involved the following. So let's get on into it. A solemn cutting of the first of the corn, of which an offering would be made to the deity by bringing it up to a high place and burying it, like on a hilltop or mountain or what have you. A meal of the new food and of bilberries, of which everyone must partake. A sacrifice of a sacred bull, just like we were saying. A feast of its flesh with some ceremony involving its hide and its replacement by a young bull. A ritual dance play, perhaps telling of a struggle for a goddess and a ritual fight. An installation of a carved stone head on top of a hill and a triumphing over it by an actor impersonating Lugh. Another play representing the confinement of Lugh or of the monster blight or famine. A 3-day celebration presided over the brilliant young god, Lugh again, or his human representative. Finally, a ceremony indicating that the interregnum was over and that the chief god was in his right place again. That just, I find that all, very interesting. Yeah,
so
very interesting.
Many of the customs that were described by medieval writers actually survived into the modern era. And though they were Christianized or shorn of any pagan religious meaning, Lughnasadh did occur during a poor time of the year for the farming community. So when the old crops were done and the new ones were not yet ready for harvest. So many of Ireland's prominent mountains and hills were climbed at Lughnasadh. Some of the treks were recast as Christian pilgrimages, the most well-known being, again, Reek Sunday. The yearly pilgrimage to the top of Croagh Patrick in late July, as you mentioned, and other hilltop gatherings were secular and attended mostly by the youth. And the reason being, again, so this was to... they would go because it was that in-between time of the first harvest. They would be like, please, final push, the pilgrimage, first to Lugh and then to Croagh Patrick, was about this final push. And then young men do it because they're virile, they're young, they're the cream of the crop. They're all the things that represent that final push and the virality that they can give and sacrifice. Because you gotta remember, these pilgrimages, even to the Christian God or to the saints, you are feeding them and they're taking your energy. You are offering your energy, your virality, your virility to them. And so let's be clear here, there's a sacrifice of male virility happening in these pilgrimages on this day for good crop, good harvest, good blessings, good year, good health, etc. Now, on the Everard Peninsula, a pilgrimage to the summit of Drumhill was part of a local Lughnasadh celebration, but that died out around 1880. But the fact that it lasted for that long is just, wow. Things that you hear so many of these, once again, Christianity stumped out paganism. Really? Because this shit was going on 1,000 years after supposedly it was wiped out. This shit's still happening. Well, into the 19th, 20th century, a lot of places are still pagan. And not just in Africa, India, but in the East, blah, blah, blah. But in Greece, in fucking England, in fucking Ireland, in France, in Spain, it's still all here in America. Like paganism in all its forms is still alive and well, and it never went anywhere.
Exactly. I mean, case in point, I remember the first time that I heard of Lughnasadh, the holiday, was because of the movie Dancing at Lughnasadh,
Yes.
an Irish movie in the 90s.
Yes.
Like,
From the Tony Award-winning Triumph by Brian Friel comes an unforgettable film.
Am I home?
You're home, Jack.
He's an old man, Mammy.
It's the moving and powerful portrait of 5 sisters, their brother, and a boy.
Where is Michael's father?
He's not here. They're not married.
I'm glad you have a child conceived in love, Agnes.
He's not mine. He's Christina's.
You all love him. He belongs to all of you.
A family struggling with life.
Have you noticed the numbers in the school are falling?
To be honest, Father, I haven't.
I might need to let a teacher go.
What'll I do if I stop teaching?
Love.
I have to go home, Danny. They'll be worried.
Are you worried, Rose?
Danny Bradley wants to marry me.
Danny Bradley can't marry a Rose. He's married already.
But he loves me.
And a quest for freedom.
What brings you to these parts tonight?
To say goodbye.
Don't go, Daddy.
I'm a soldier now, Michael. I have to fight.
Meryl Streep.
You work hard at your job. You try to keep the home together, but suddenly you realise the cracks are appearing everywhere.
Michael Gambon.
I think I've come home to die.
Don't. Can't afford to bury you.
Catherine McCormick.
Please don't leave me just yet.
Lee and Michael come away with me.
Sophie Thompson.
I want to know where you've been, Rose.
I had arranged to meet Danny Bradley. That's all any of you are going to hear.
Kathy Burke.
The sisters here will tell you I've been looking for a beautiful black man.
Breed Brennan. Reese Ifans.
I want to dance, Kate. How many years has it been since we read a dance in the village?
Discover the extraordinary film that captures the joy, the passion, and the triumph that lives in the spirit of a people. Dancing at Lughnasadh, directed by Pat O'Connor.
Yes.
and it was. I haven't watched the movie in quite some time. Like, it's been since I was a child, but you know, it's about this very like remote Irish village that very much still celebrates Lughnasadh as it was.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember loving the movie. I can't really recall many plot points, but it was a really good movie.
Yeah, I was trying. Wanted. It's so funny because I thought like, oh, that's what we should watch for this episode.
Yeah.
And then I forgot.
Oops.
So we ended up watching something else for this episode. But we will now watch it because we should.
Yes.
But
maybe next Lughnasadh you'll get a review.
yeah, now we remember.
Okay.
Yes, please
Yes. So bull sacrifices at Lughnasadh time were recorded as late as the 18th century. At oh my gosh, his
Crow.
name. Crow. Is that Crow?
Wait, let me see.
C-O-I-S.
Oh, Coy Farage.
Farage.
Coy Farage.
Coy Farage. Thank you. In Ireland, where they were offered to Crom Dubh.
Okay.
And at Lochmarie in Scotland, where they were offered to Saint Mael Ruba.
Mm-hmm.
Special meals were made with the first produce of the harvest. In the Scottish Highlands, people made a special cake called the Lughnasadh, which may have originated as an offering to the gods. I'm definitely going to say that it absolutely did.
Right.
The word may have is not really necessary
No,
here.
it's not.
Another custom that Lughnasadh shared with Imbolc and Beltane was visiting holy wells, some specifically Clootie wells. So visitors to these wells would pray for health while walking sunwise around the well, which I think is a really
Sunwise,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. So they would then leave offerings. Here's this word again, typically coins or clooties. Although bonfires were lit at the open, like bonfires.
Bonfires, yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so although bonfires were lit at the open air gatherings in Ireland, they were rare and incidental to some like certain specific celebrations. Yeah.
So, thank you. So, like in Washington, although now it's been more predictable to just be hot and out.
Right.
But historically, like around August, the weather's very. Oh my gosh. So, like here, in Ireland, Lughnasadh was a time of unpredictable weather. Heavy rains, known as Lammas floods, often coincided with the beginning of August and were responsible for destroying the corn. There are many folk sayings that relate to the unpredictable weather conditions during Lughnasadh and the importance of these conditions to the harvest. One goes for Lammas floods with crops of havoc play, and e'en one slaps the rustic bridge away. August needs the dew as much as men need bread. After Lammas corn ripens as much by night as by day.
In Ireland, some of the mountain pilgrimages have still survived to this day. Excuse me, too much tea.
Yes.
So by far the most popular is the Reek Sunday pilgrimage at Croagh-Patrick, which attracts tens of thousands of people every year. The Puck Fair is held each year in early August in the town of Killorglin, County Kerry. It has been traced back as far back as the 16th century, but it is believed to be one of those survivals of the Lughnasadh Festival that originated from the ancient festival and has been just carried over to modern day.
Right.
At the beginning of the 3-day festival, a feral goat is brought into town and crowned king.
Oh.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, while a local girl is crowned queen.
Love.
Yes. So the festival does also include traditional music and dancing, a parade, arts and crafts workshops. This is just sounding more and more cool. Like,
Right. I want to go. Yeah.
A horse and
Make it happen, Sam.
Exactly. A horse and cattle fair and a market. It draws locals as well as a great number of tourists each year. So I'm sure it is just very good for the town as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I want to go now.
I do too. So there are actual Celtic Reconstructionist pagans, and you're like, what are Celtic Reconstructionist pagans? So they're like, really, you can replace Celtic with any. You can be like Greek, Roman, Assyrian, Persian Reconstruction. But basically, it's pagans who strive as much as possible to keep the rituals, the traditions, the ways they celebrate as authentic to how it was done back in the day. And they tend to use prayers, invocations, hymnals, epithets from original sources, and try to keep it very liturgical.
Yeah.
Liturgical.
Liturgical.
So, excuse myself. So anyway, again, their practices are based on research and historical accounts. They do obviously have to slightly modify these things to suit modern life. I would be considered kind of a HEKA-TEA Reconstructionist.
Yeah, as would I be considered a Hera Reconstructionist.
Yes, and when I have to tweak to adapt to me, I will, but I try to keep all my prayers, hymnals, everything as straightforward as possible.
Yes, exactly.
Celtic Reconstructionists who follow the Gaelic traditions tend to celebrate Lughnasadh at the time of first fruits, or on the full moon nearest this time. In the northeastern United States, this is often the time of the blueberry harvest, while in the Pacific Northwest, the blackberries are often the festival fruit. So, depending on where you are in the world, you are a Celtic Reconstructionist who then would... And I feel like, for me, that would make sense that you would celebrate Lughnasadh.
Yeah.
If you live on a farm, if you're a Celtic Reconstructionist pagan, where that is part of your tradition or path, then you would celebrate Lugh.
Yes.
The Lammas thing, that's Christian.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have pre-Christian origins, but Lammas in itself is Loaf Mass Day and the breaking of the bread and all this shit. That is Christian.
Yeah.
It has very Christian roots. So Wiccans taking it for the Wheel of the Year and taking the name and the date, even incorporating the bread aspect, the loaf aspect of it. Because I have books from back in the day when I was a kid that were like how to celebrate Lammas, and it was very Wiccan, and it was like bake a Lammas loaf.
Yeah.
Like, I think you need to find a new way to celebrate Lammas, and I'm going to have a suggestion here for you about how to do that, taken from how I do it. So, here you'll be celebrating the harvest of the blackberry.
Yeah.
And I want to incorporate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the blackberries are so plentiful this
exactly.
year,
So in Celtic Reconstructionism, Lughnasadh is seen as a time to give thanks to the spirits and deities for the beginning of the harvest season, and to appropriate them with offerings and prayers, not to harm the still ripening crops. The god Lugh is honored by many at this time, and gentle rain on the day of the festival is seen as his presence and his bestowing of blessings. Many Celtic Reconstructionists also honor the goddess Talitiu, or Talitiu, however it is pronounced. Again, I'm not the best with Gaelic, at Lughnasadh, and may seek to keep the Calican from dampening the crops. Much in the way appeals, and many make appeals to the god Lugh while they're doing their last rounds of the grain and the blessing of the harvest, etc., etc.
So Wiccans in the modern day use the names Lughnasadh or Lammas kind of interchangeably for the first of the autumnal harvest festivals. It's interesting seeing these two holidays and what they originally were in their forms and how they've kind of blended and married together.
Yes,
like I find that very interesting. It is one of 8 yearly Sabbaths of the Wheel of the Year, following Midsummer and preceding Mabon.
Yes.
It is, interestingly enough, I didn't know this before we started researching for this episode, but it is seen as one of the 2 most auspicious times for hand fasting, with the other one being Beltane, of course. Some Wiccans mark the holiday by baking a figure of the corn god in bread and then symbolically sacrificing and eating it, which I think is interesting. Also, it's
an adaptation of the loaf mass mixed with that original corn offering pilgrimage to the top of the mountain.
Exactly. I think that's very interesting when these 2 traditions kind of get blended together over time, and you're kind of you're honoring both in their original form while kind of making it completely new, and
unique to its own.
Exactly. And oddly enough, one thing that I did know prior to our research about this time of the year, because I'm a little bit of a history nerd, was not specifically with Lammas, but Lammas Eve, which makes sense why it was mentioned in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. But Lammas Eve, in that like Tudor and Elizabethan time period, was seen as a time when you really had to protect your children and your family, because it was seen as one of those times when the spirits were about, and that your child could be switched with a fae,
a changeling.
A changeling. That was one of those times that it was very superstitious that the fae were looking to swap changelings. It was Lammas Eve, so that was just kind of one of those lock up your kids times of the year, and that once you made it to actual Lammas Day, you were safe. But and kind of like how oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Not Samhain.
Walpurgis?
Yes, Walpurgis, thank you. Kind of like how Walpurgis is considered as the eve of St. John's Day in Christianity. It's kind of a lot of that same type of superstition and tradition.
Yes.
I just think it's really interesting.
Agreed. So how then can you incorporate Lammas in a way that works for you and that isn't pointless because you don't live on a farm, right? Or you're not Wiccan, or you're not a Celtic pagan, so you have no reason to celebrate the god Lugh, you know, because it's a very centralized festival. Well, for me, I thought out how HEKA-TEA and how HEKA-TEA can incorporate into that. So I unfortunately cannot remember, it's been so long now, and I mean long ago, that I came across this, but it was some information about how Lammas, how HEKA-TEA can be celebrated at Lammas, and I've been carrying this from phone to phone to phone to phone to phone for a very long time in my notes, and but I use it. I consider it a sermon. I put this into practice, and it's incorporated on how to celebrate HEKA-TEA at this time. And you're like, huh? Again, a lot of this will go more in depth in the next episode, but here's a little boo. Okay, so again, Lammas is, you know, the first of the 3 harvest festivals celebrated on the Wheel of the Year. It's the Sabbath at which pagans prepared to reap the seeds that we have sown at the imbolc spring equinox, and we recognize that to do that, we must sometimes be prepared to make a sacrifice. In much the same way that we might really want that new job, but we must sacrifice our old one to get it, and to pay packet for a more stimulating role or ease of travel, and so on. So think about making a sacrifice to HEKA-TEA as part of your devotion. Perhaps giving, or whatever god that maybe you're connected to. Perhaps giving up something that you like in order for her to bestow her blessings. This is also a time when we can give thanks for our personal harvest from the year. So if our harvest is not quite what we hoped for, it is worth remembering the words of Hesiod. For to this day, whenever any one of men or women on earth offers rich sacrifices and prays for favor according to custom, he calls upon HEKA-TEA. Great honor comes full easily to him whose prayers to the goddess she receives favorably, and she bestows wealth upon him or her, for the power surely is with her, HEKA-TEA. We can make offerings to her to encourage our own harvest. Eggs, honey, garlic, fish, all acceptable sacrifices to her. We could also consider using the bounty of the harvest to prepare a meal for friends in the manner of a HEKA-TEA supper or a daikon, donating to a food bank or other charity, giving always to the least of these. Because remember, HEKA-TEA is really about charity and feeding the less fortunate, and giving to the least of these. At this time of fruitful harvest, we can see HEKA-TEA as the dark mother who separates the wheat from the chaff and cuts away that which is unnecessary from our lives. If we have the courage, we can work with HEKA-TEA as the goddess of transformation. This act of transformation, whilst painful, is reward in itself, as we must transform and change in order to grow. This act of transformation was something that devotees of the ancient mysteries at the Eleusis appeared to have been striving for. A tombstone of one initiate suggests that after death, she would be somehow transformed into HEKA-TEA herself. Lammas is also a traditional time for fairs, as we mentioned before, where people would need to display and sell the wealth that the harvest had brought them thus far. At these fairs, as well, it was common to play games, and this often forms a part of our festivities when we celebrate Lammas today. It is worth remembering Hesiod's point about HEKA-TEA in relation to games and sports. Good is she also, when men and women contend at the games, for there too the goddess is with them and profits them. And he, or she, or they, who by might and strength gets the victory, wins the rich prize easily with joy, and brings glory to his, her, or they's parents. This victory can also be seen as victory within the games of life. And it is always important to remember to lean on HEKA-TEA as the champion of life, always ensuring triumph for her witches, teaching us to always appreciate the journey it takes from speaking spells to manifestation, but to trust in her light and the warmth of it, and to remember, especially at the harvest season, that HEKA-TEA will always make sure your bounty is great, if you can show patience while sitting at the table. I love that.
I do too. That's beautiful.
And, you know, it just takes a little bit of research. If you follow a particular deity, look to see how maybe they were celebrated at August. And maybe you'll be surprised what you discover about what's out there or how you can incorporate so Lammas can have more meaning.
Yeah.
Because I don't work with Lugh. I have no one ever with
either.
Lugh. So to me it's weird that one day out of the year I'm suddenly going to honor this random deity that I have no working with. All because, you know, Gerald Gardner told me to, and Selena Fox and Janet and Stuart Farrar told me to. You know, like, love and respect to all of them, but like, I'm not Wiccan, and even if so, again, what does this Celtic god, this very provincial, very regional, have to do with me as an American Wiccan? You know what I mean? Who lives in a city? It just doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So if you can find a way to incorporate this time of year to the deity you work with, then that's great. If you work with many deities, including HEKA-TEA, well, here you go. Now you know how you can honor HEKA-TEA at Lammas, because she is the bringer of the dawn. She is the sun goddess. She's literally known as the creatrix of the sun. So she was honored for grain. She was honored for the crops back in the day. Like, so you can go to her for these things. HERA, agriculture, and all these things. So there are always ways to incorporate one deity to another.
Oh, exactly. Like, just to share briefly, what I am observing for HERA at this time of year. So I observe the entire month of Metic-Gaetnion, which is the 8th month of the Hellenic calendar.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, since as we've gone over in previous episodes,
It's a little ahead.
yes, where I've talked about devotion. Her sacred number is 8. I observe that month. Now, typically, that month will correspond with like late August to early September. However, as we also discussed earlier in the year, the Hellenic calendar actually is falling this year a couple of weeks earlier than it normally would.
Yeah.
So that month actually corresponds with Lammas Tide and Lughnasadh. In fact, the first day of the month falls on July 26th, and on that day, that is when I'm going to be running my second 5K.
Love.
And then later on in the month, on the 20th day of Metic-Gaetnion, HERA has a kind of like fertility, motherhood type of festival called HEKA-TEA. Now, again, that would typically take place in late August. However, because of the way that the calendar is structured this year, it actually coincides with HEKA-TEA's Ides. It also falls this year on August 14th. So I just think it's very interesting that in this year in particular, their kind of two energies are coming together at this time.
That is interesting.
Like, I love that.
Like our table.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's all things like that. Well, no matter what deity you follow, like if you look for their celebrations and the times of year that they were observed, like you will find something at almost any time of year that you would want to honor them.
yeah, just takes a little digging.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's a more personal way to do it. But as you can see with the kind of about it, like again, not us and like it's not important, but the specificity, I can't talk, of specificity of Lughnasadh and Lammas, or both in their origins, are so specific geographically, provincially, that celebrating it in the Wiccan Wheel of the Way kind of hodgepodgey way just to me doesn't really make sense.
True.
And so there's no reason, I guess, to like, I mean, I wasn't going to make a Lammas loaf.
Right.
Like, we
Nor
can only
was
do
I.
one delicious, we can afford to only do one delicious witch.
Right.
And we're making a honey almond HEKA-TEA cake.
Yes.
We're making a HEKA-TEA cake, which is a honey almond cake. So, yeah, that involves duck eggs, like it's a whole thing. So like the budget allowed for one, and this just didn't seem to cut it.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
Exactly.
So, but there you go.
The information is still very interesting.
The information is really interesting. If you do celebrate it because you're a Celtic Reconstructionist, or you are like me, or a Van, and you have adopted it for your actual own personal way with your own deities that you work with, let us know. We'd love to hear. Please drop a line in our DMs and our comments, and let us share with us what you do this time of year. If you celebrate Loaf Mass Day, tell us more about that. If you do celebrate it in the mass market Wiccan way, cool. Tell us why. Like what if you do get something out of it and you do find connection to it and worth celebrating, maybe it's because you live on a farm, maybe you have an urban farm, and you raise some chickens and grow some crops in your backyard in your neighborhood. Like, let us know why. We'd love to hear about it.
And if you observe certain traditions associated with the holiday over others, please let us know which ones you observe and why those speak to you more than others do.
Yeah. So, with that being said, getting into spellcraft. Spellcraft is not, like we said, it's not, this, once again, it's not spells. We're not doing spells. But we are on the field. And we kind of got the idea because, it's summer.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, we go, whether it's a day trip on your day off, or you're going out of town for a couple of days or a whole week, a lot of times we go on vacation, we end up in these small towns, these tourist towns, these cute little villages, and we want to get our witch on, right?
Exactly.
But you're like, okay, I'm going to whip out my phone, or I'm going to look in the hotel directory, in the phone book, and see in the white pages, and see the yellow pages. White pages is residential. I'm going to look in the yellow pages, or look on my phone, on my computer, and see a cult shop in the area, metaphysical shop, crystal, whatever, and nothing comes up. All that comes up is like, Finnegan's Boutique, Crabtree and Ivory, and all these things, right? Cranapple and Marion Barry's gifts. And you're like, what? Well, we thought, why not show you how to work around this and find everything you need, no matter where you are vacationing, no matter what little village, tourist, cute place you are. And there's always something there, and always new connections and witchy people to meet. So enjoy. Hey witches! So we are out here today in the beautiful Proctor district in our neighborhood to kind of poke around and see what we can do if you are, let's say it's summer and you are on vacation, you're in another town, and you want to do some spells, you want to do some ritual, but there's not any metaphysical or occult shop around. What can you do? So we figured we would take you around and show you with the proper eye and the right discernment what you can find no matter where you are. And being Lughnasadh or Lammas, height of summer, that first breath of autumn, what you would be doing at this time, which a lot of us is on vacation in one of these smaller towns or these coastal places or these little tourist places. So come along with us and let's see what we can find.
So let's go.
Which is right there. So let's see what we can find. It's like a lot of produce, some fennel. A lot of restaurants so far. Oh, wine and mead. That's good for offerings, to get some wine and mead. Let's see. A lot of restaurants.
Yeah. Oh, there's some honey.
There's some honey. It's mostly jam.
Oh.
I mean, so far, this is a little... Some veg. I didn't see like a real big candle or soap makers. More herbs. Oh, yeah. Oh, lavender. Farmers markets always tend to be a good spot for lavender. Flowers. Let's see, what's down here? A lot of flowers. Oh, look at the garlic.
Oh, wow.
Those are beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Garlic. Good for banishing, protection, offerings to HEKA-TEA and many others. Good for warding off spirits, bringing healing. A lot of bushels of herbs. Let's see what's further down here. Okay, the daily ritual. This looks witchy. Good. Oh, perfect. We host a YouTube show, talk show for witches. Yeah, so we're like doing our Lughnasadh segment right now on like doing farmers market. Like if you're in like a town on vacation, like, and you're in one of these type of towns like Proctor District, but you don't, but that's all it is. Like how to like still find things within those shops and stuff to like, exactly, to like still put together some crafting and some ritual. So yeah, we just were like, well, the farmer's market, and a lot of times when you go on vacation to towns, they'll have a farmer's market. So we're checking in and just, yeah, so we thought we'd check out. We started getting discouraged because it's just mostly food vendors here now, like not even like veggies or anything, it's just like restaurants. So we were like, this is about to be a bum, but this is amazing. This is the daily ritual. And how long have you guys been in business? And are you Melody? Hello, Melody. She is a green witch and does all these beautiful, wonderful things. Is this like a whole like thing you can get with the cauldron or? Oh, okay. I didn't know if you did like one of the like those packages, those kits. I love the mini cauldrons with the blends.
So pretty.
Oh my goodness. This is so cool. Tinctures, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Love. So you guys have a website, right? Oh, there it is. thedailyritual.net, and people can order online, and that is perfect. Well, thank you so much. And blessed be, have a wonderful Lughnasadh coming up, and I hope so too. So far it's been a lot of, well, this will work for offerings, this will work for offerings, this will work for offerings. And the first one, it's like, no, you can get spell work out of this stuff. You can actually be like, buy one of these, and you can like, you got some rose in there, it looks like, and oh, love it. Oh my God, yes. Everyone check out thedailyritual.net. Thank you. See you later, Melody. Olive oils. Olive oils are a quick way for some anointing oil and spell work. Oh, look at all these herbs. Bunch of herbs. Well, okay. So if you ever walk around and you see a place that has apothecary, it's usually a good sign. You come in here. This is newly opened, I think. When did you guys open? If you don't mind me asking. Oh, wait. Hello. Please introduce yourself. And when did you say you had your soft opening? Perfect. Well, we'll have to be back for that.
No, not yet. We're still hiring.
Well, we will stay tuned because we want to come back and show that. So if you go into any good apothecary, it's going to have what you would hope they would have, which is walls and walls, jars full of herbs and flowers, everything you need for your ritual, offering, or spell casting in a pinch. Anything that says a tea shop is also usually a pretty good indicator that they'll have a wider range of amazing things from the earth. Out of Damiana right now, and out of Dandelion. But they have this. Oh, there's more Dandelion here. Oh, Devil's Club. That's good for justice and to get someone to do what you want them to do. Elder. Oh, look at all that elder. Oh, it's the flower, and they have the seed buds. Oh, fenugreek, lemon peel, lemongrass, lemon balm, lemon verbena, licorice.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I just want to
Live here.
live here and do so many spells.
Yes.
Oh, they have motherwort and also mugwort. Oh,
And that's forage for locally here.
really?
Awesome.
Forage locally. That's awesome.
Wow.
We can't forage for it, and then we try to get it from a local farm either in Washington or Oregon.
That is
Cool.
amazing.
We can. Some of the things we can't that don't grow here. But
Right.
we can as long as we can.
That is
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Sassafras. I have not. Oh my god. I mean, yes, it's empty sassafras at the moment, but you guys have sassafras, which is amazing because I never see sassafras anywhere anymore.
No, we just ordered some new herbs, so that's why those ones are empty. So we're waiting for them to hit.
Oh, and the sumac berries.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I love sumac.
Me too. Even shadafari.
Oh, and look, they have willow,
Yes.
yarrow,
Oh my gosh.
yellow dock.
Wow.
Oh, vanilla ruby balls. Oh, that's amazing. Valerian root. Oh my goodness. Tinctures. Oh, look at that. And of course, you'll usually find shelves with oracles and tarot cards and books. Oh, I love that. The language of flowers,
beautiful.
poems, nourishing traditions. This place is so
It's
amazing.
magical.
This place is so
Oh, and I
magical.
love their incense boxes.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And those are all beeswax.
Mhm.
Especially, which is great, especially if you are like, oh, I want to keep things as natural as possible.
which is
in
my
my
case.
spell work on my altars, yeah. Essential oil diffusers. So you can get essential oils here. And a lot of these towns, if you go to visit, will not necessarily have a magic shop and a cult shop, but a lot of times especially if they have a lot of tourists, a lot of visitors, you'll find things like tea shops and apothecaries, and a lot of times gift shops, which will have more metaphysical things or tools or things that you can use if they're not, just a full out witch shop. Oh my god, I love that painting so much. Oh my god. Oh, bundles, Palo Santo, lavender. Oh, they have little cleansing bundles. Oh, that's cute. That's awesome. Oh, that's really cool.
Hi, welcome in. Thank you.
All right, witches. So that was our little excursion through Proctor, and hopefully, as you saw, it can be some hunting,
Exactly.
and you're not always going to luck out, even in farmers markets or things like that. But if you look for those keywords like tea shop, apothecary, natural, look
Remedies.
for remedies, etc. Usually, you can, as you saw, not only find things that work, but a lot of times the proprietors behind them are witches themselves.
Exactly. So it's really all about knowing what to look for and just being observant.
Exactly. So we hope that you enjoyed this beautiful Lughnasadh Lammas summer vacation idea spellcraft tip tour. Obviously, we will connect more with Hawthorne and Honey and daily rituals in the future and
Yes.
see how they're doing and what else they have to offer. Until next time, have a wonderful Lughnasadh. Well, that was amazing.
That was so much fun.
I love that daily ritual.
Oh my gosh, she was so sweet.
Oh,
Oh,
so
my
wonderful.
gosh, loved
and
her.
Lisa at Hawthorne and Honey.
So wonderful.
Apothecary. Cannot wait to go back there.
Oh, I
Cannot wait to
know.
work with
if
them.
If you are in the Tacoma area, please
Yes,
go check her out
check
and talk to
them out.
Lisa and
Yes.
tell her that we said hi.
Yes. And Lisa, I saw that you subscribed to our channel today. So if you're watching, hi. We can't wait to see you and work with you. And yeah, it was just a really great time. We hope that you enjoyed the video. Yes, we're in Tacoma, and Proctor is just like a district. It's a neighborhood.
Right.
But as you can see from the video, it looks like that you could be in one of those towns, and it
Right.
has that feel to
It
it, a
does.
little village vibe. And it has the same type of shops, the same type of vibe, the same type of feel, same type of community sense. So it worked perfectly.
It really did.
And as someone who has done this in many a coastal town, little touristy town, little village, It works every time. All these shops exist in all these places in one way or another, and you can find what you need. You just have to do a little scavenger hunting.
Exactly. And let me tell you, like, having these skills in action, I think will really help me because I'm about to be traveling and being in an unfamiliar area for something, medical that I really want to focus a lot of my witchcraft into. And so, like, having this experience of like going around at these little shops, like, that will really teach me how to do that same thing when I really need it.
Exactly.
Now, of course, I'm going to be in a major city. I'm sure there will be no shortage of witchcraft shops.
But you never know where you end up.
Exactly. Regardless, it's just a good skill to have no matter where you're going to be.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you are in a place and you do need to put a little oomph in your witchcraft.
Exactly. Or just maybe your trip's going shitty and you
Right.
really just need to turn it around.
Exactly.
Maybe the weather's not what it's supposed to be, or every place you end up, no matter what you try to do, ends up being kind of expensive and taking your money, and you just need to like get steered in the more financially beneficial direction.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times a money spell has a lot to do with just it directing you a lot of times to getting the same quality of what you want, but the place doesn't charge as much, and so in the end, it's not like, oh, I'm getting more money in my bank account, but suddenly you're just finding yourself at restaurants, at locations in different towns that you're maybe visiting, that suddenly you're just ending up in the right place for lunch, the right place for dinner, the right lodging.
Exactly.
It's just really ends up being really cost saving, and that's how the money spell's working.
Yeah.
You have to remember, magic takes its form, your spell will always be granted, but the way the form takes isn't always how you imagine that's going to be.
Right.
So with that being said, we need to undo ourselves again.
Exactly.
And we will be back. Remember, we're not doing Pagan Invasion, so we will be back with Witchy Media Review, which is actually the 1985 documentary, The Occult Experience.
Yes.
And you're like, wait, what? The Occult Experience? Didn't you guys just do Wicca, The Occult Experience?
Yes, we did.
And there's a story behind that, so stay tuned.
So we are back with our Witchy Media Review. As we mentioned, we did watch The Occult Experience from 1985. Now, last episode, we came across what we thought was a documentary called Wicca, The Occult Experience. But when we were looking at some things to place into the episode, we found that was actually just kind of a splicing together of the Wicca-related segments from a documentary called The Occult Experience, which kind of delves into not just Wicca, but multiple areas of magic and the occult.
Yes.
Was released in 1985, directed by Frank Hyman, and oddly enough, was actually mentioned in the book, The Blair Witch Project, related, of course, to the iconic movie of the same name. But in the book, it's mentioned that Heather had rented The Occult Experience from the Blockbuster just a couple of days before she went into the woods.
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
We
We really do miss you.
I miss making it a Blockbuster night.
You miss making out at Blockbuster night?
No, I miss making it a Blockbuster night. The tagline, make it a Blockbuster night.
Yes, I'm sorry. I definitely heard making out at Blockbuster.
It's because you are bathing in the fucking pits of filth and gutterdom.
I am. I will always bathe in those pits.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
So, we did go over all of the Wicca-related jazz that is in this documentary.
Yes. Selena Fox was in it,
yes.
Margot Adler,
Exactly.
Alex Sanders.
So how, one may ask, does it feel to be a witch in the computer age?
Being a modern contemporary witch in the world of computers, fantastic. I'll kill the bastard who stole my computer. I was getting everything worked out astrologically on 144 cassettes. And he walked in and took it. So much for magic.
Your who's who.
Exactly. Usnar.
Usnar, we were back with Stuart and Janet and
Exactly.
Usnar. And...
I mean, honestly, Usnar is, I don't care what anyone says. Usnar is now an iconic name in Wicca.
Oh yeah, Usnar. Usnar is
Usnar.
go.
Like,
Usnar is go.
I don't care about Janet. I don't care about Stuart.
No,
I care about Usnar.
It's all about Usnar.
Exactly.
I want to know what happened with Michael/Usnar's journey.
Me too.
Is he still with us? Where is he? And if so, are you still Wiccan? Are you still pagan? Are you still a witch? Are you just like a witch? Like we're just like witches,
Right.
and you just are doing your witchy thing? Or are you like still Wiccan?
Yeah.
Are you now a different branch of neo-paganism? Or are you just pagan? Or are you not any of those things? Or have you unfortunately passed on?
Right.
We would love to know. So we will find someone hunt him down for us, or we will hunt him down.
Exactly. We would love to.
But we're coming for you, Usnar.
Coming for you,
One way or
Usnar.
another. We're calling your name again. Usnar! Usnar! Usnar!
Of course, what if he's like, oh, I'm not in Wicca anymore. That name triggers me.
Oh God! Well, too bad.
Too bad, because we will never stop saying it.
Never.
Never.
Well, that's not true. It really triggers you, and you're like,
Oh
don't.
yeah.
But
Then we will. But we
Yeah, no.
will still speak it amongst ourselves, but we would never say it to your face.
correct. Got that out of the way. Let's
Yeah.
get into it.
Anywho's. So there were a lot of different aspects of the occult that got delved into in this documentary.
There was was it the Temple of Set?
Yes, there was the Temple of
Set, where they conflated Set and Satan.
Yes, which I feel like all of those deities that deal with the underworld do get conflated with Satan.
They do. They get a really bad rap.
It's very annoying to me. Like Hades gets it. Like
Pluto.
Yeah, all of those deities that deal with those kind of liminal space.
HEKA-TEA.
That was what I was about to say. Like maybe that is kind of why she gets boiled down to this whole like witchy, spooky.
Well, they also the church demonized her.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really focused in on her, and she's become this like symbol. Shakespeare, Keats, all these people have immortalized HEKA-TEA. She existed in one form and she just never went away.
Right.
Whereas a lot of other deities, they became confined to the classics, and that's where they existed.
Yeah.
But they didn't permeate through different culture and different things where suddenly they're being mentioned from the pulpit or being painted by artists in a way to warn people of faith of her or whatever. HEKA-TEA persisted because of things that will be revealed in the Ives episode, but in short, because she has more primordial, large-scale, threatening roots that were way more tangible in her threat to the church that has been everlasting.
Yes.
And so then she permeated the culture as a way of being a real boogie woman, a real terror. And it doesn't help that, again, one of her epithets was Lucifera, Lucifer, the dawnbringer. So she would sometimes get conflated and said that she is the wife of Lucifer or the daughter of Lucifer. Like, she's always been weaponized. Because of, again, that correlation of the roads, of the way, just like Papa Legba Eshu, especially Eshu, who really holds, he's a trickster, but he really holds the space as like the king, as the witchcraft king, as the horn god of the wood. He is often represented by Satan, or have devil horns or a pitchfork, but it's really his coming from the symbolism of the witch's Sabbath is where that is coming from. And in Haiti, in Africa, they're not going to have the same imagery of an understanding of like horned pantheonic nature deities, male deities, and so they're just going to see the image of the great horned god of the witch's Sabbath and conflate, and Christianization conflated that with the devil, their devil, and devilized him. So they then equate that, and that's you get that imagery to translate. Can be malefic. He deals in witchcraft. He deals in necromancy. Like this is that image, and so once again, it's a devil.
Yes.
But Eshu's not a devil, and far from it. Yeah. And all these deities are far from the Christian devil.
Exactly.
That's a Christian deity.
Yes, that actually is a very Christian concept.
Yes.
So many other faiths, like yes, you do have these deities that deal with death and the underworld, all of these types of formats, but it's not with this. He's down below. He's evil. He's the root of all evil that the Christians have placed upon their devil.
Right. Exactly.
And I just think that you can't evaluate certain deities outside of their cultural norms.
No.
But anyway, regardless, that was just kind of an interesting thing that we noticed with some of these deities covered in the documentary.
What I caught sight of too was how much Egyptian mythology played into a lot of this, and what that made me think of was, of course, starting with the Victorians and then going through, especially with the Edwardians, the venture into Egypt starting, and the excavations and the holidays and the tours, the grand tours.
Yes.
And
Egypt was so fashion at that time.
Yeah. And the Edwardian, and in the 1920s, especially, that's when it was at its peak. And Egyptology and mysticism was really at its peak amongst the bright young things and amongst the flappers. And it really infiltrated in a place of privilege. And so, so remember the Temple of Isis, right? And that's, that clearly Fae brother and sister, and the Temple of Isis that they put in their home in Ireland, which, by the way, again, they were seated gentry. They were landed gentry, these two.
Yes.
They were Protestant, Ulster Irish people.
Yeah.
And, not a lick of a lilt in sight. It was very austere British accent.
Yeah.
And so was everyone in their fucking coven.
Right.
Do they even let native Irish people, actual Irish cat, in?
That is definitely a conversation that I think that obviously did not get addressed in the documentary,
No.
but I would be very interested.
But they all were influenced. They were clearly young in the 20s.
Yeah.
So they were clearly influenced by this.
Yes.
And then you go to, India, or not India, to Australia, and we have that coven that's fucking
Temple of the Goddess, but it was all about Egypt.
But it was all about Isis in Egypt, and they were in a cave, and it was all just these very upper middle class white Australian folk.
Yes.
And so do you remember when I mentioned Queen Sheba, Lady Sheba, and her spell book, and she had that onion sacrifice spell and all this shit? She was with the temple. She came out of the Temple of Isis.
Oh, interesting.
I forgot about that, but she
that.
came out of the Temple of
Wow.
Isis. I remember that being mentioned in her spell book, the spell book of Lady Sheba or whatever. And I've known people. It's interesting. Growing up, I've known people who were pagans, who were witches, who were down the Egyptian train.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were all white men and women, they, them, of a certain socioeconomic situation, but almost always white, privileged. And I don't know why, but the Egyptians, so HEKA-TEA and Isis are linked, the saint. a lot of you are like, what? We'll get into it.
Yeah, we
but
will.
yes, there is HEKA-TEA ISIS, or depending on where you were, ISIS HEKA-TEA, and there are triple formed HEKA-TEA columns in the pyramids and the temples in Egypt, and those are in reference to ISIS HEKA-TEA.
Yes.
But even with that, I never had an interest to invoke ISIS's name.
Oh no.
Like there's something about it that and I don't know if it's because of that weird, wicked neo-pagan colonialism that clearly happened in the 1900s, probably when Margaret Adler's The White Witch, the White Goddess, the book The White Goddess came out, which has been largely discredited.
Yes.
But it's that there's a big, great witchcraft religious cult that was all over Europe. It was one centralized witchcraft cult, and there was the White Goddess. And it was just, a lot of it wasn't necessarily actually wrong, it was just that she was conflating all of these different deities as one centralized. She just was, it was anthropology, it was the late 1800s, early 1900s. There wasn't a lot of understanding in a lot of ways of the pagan world in a certain sense. And so it's not necessarily that she was wrong, it's just that there were things she didn't understand or misunderstood given what was available at the time. And we a lot of times forget that when we're like, a lot of her work's been largely discredited by contemporary people. Well, what's being forgotten in all of that is context of how much was available at the time for her to understand. Doesn't mean that everything that she discovered and wrote about was incorrect. It's just that certain things were not fully understood to be what we now understand them to be or represent. So, yeah. I just thought it was very interesting. The avenues the documentary took, how it exposed certain things.
Satan is simply a word that means the adversary, or the opposition, or the accuser. It doesn't necessarily mean evil, or brutality, or cruelty. It simply means the dissenter. I guess the two most popular reasons that people join the church is because either they're just disgusted, they're just fed up with the sanctimonious pussyfooting around that other religions have given them, and they're just tired of saying one thing and practicing another, and they'd like to at least get together with other people. And after all, man is a social animal, and no different than any other animal, except he's probably the most vicious of all animals.
Which I do think when we do our Wicca episode, that is the thing, we are going to address the whole appropriation of Egyptian deities, mysticism, culture, etc.
And frankly, it wasn't just Egypt that was shown to have this white appropriation in this documentary.
Oh, the professor.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. So we've got this professor. I think he did some things at Yale, Berkeley, I believe it was one of them. He's at now, and there was one other Ivy League university that he taught at, but where he was in the documentary was at Berkeley, and he fancied himself a shaman, and he had this group of students in a room. They were all in a circle around him. He was working on one particular person, like in the center of the circle, so he was having them focus all of their energy into this woman. No, these are clearly what would be referred to in our modern day context as closed practices. And sometimes that expression gets applied when it doesn't really need to, but in this case it did.
He went to like Peru, I think it was. He went down to Peru, and he worked with this priest, this shaman, for like 7 years, and he was taught, he was trained, all these mysteries. So obviously a huge level of trust was gained there, all this shit. I don't think the intention of teaching him came with this intention of now go forth and make money, and make money from this. I thought it was interesting that there was a woman who addressed this, and it's like the native peoples are realizing that they can't hold on to these mysteries anymore. They must be shared with everybody. It was literally justifying taking these practices. It was a lot, because you gotta remember, a lot of anthropologists of the ancient world, a lot of historians, antiquarians, who especially focus on like pagan traditions and mystic traditions, are usually magical practitioners, new agists or whatever themselves, in some degree or another. So a lot of this is their own justification for why they went into these cultures themselves, befriended these people for years, sometimes living amongst them, being amongst them, and then get taught their mysteries, their religion, their faith, their secret languages, their secret magics, and then they come back to America and they use it for profit. And it's to justify what they're doing. And this man is making money off of from white. It was all white people, except for one black woman.
The woman in the center that he was actively working on was black, but every other person was very white, very privileged.
Because he probably charged a buttload for the times.
Clearly, they were all his students, not only magically but collegiately. All of them probably connected with him as their professor at their college. It was just very white, very appropriative. And it was just something that I noticed throughout the documentary, throughout various different faiths, that it was largely wealthy white people who were on these journeys. Oh, and then there was the one in Sweden. I believe it was.
Giger?
No. Oh, he was in California, but he was Swedish, I believe.
Oh,
and then
yes.
he was doing like breath work with people.
Oh, yes.
And they were going through all of these like transformations.
And trance states.
Yes,
yeah.
trance states.
Oh, and they were learning this and going from the realm of the upper realms and the lower realm. And these were actually traditionally funeral rites.
Yes.
Funeral rites that you would do to help someone pass on.
Right.
And you only did it then, as we know, certain spells, rituals are very specific as to why you only do them at certain points.
Right.
One of which being, this is helping them
end of
move
life,
on.
yeah.
Like, some heavy magics are involved and altered states are involved.
Exactly. However, with this group of people, it was very much like a
past life regression thing.
Yeah, like I want to gain insight into what's led me to this point.
Right. One of them was a panther in a past life and he was losing his shit.
Right. He was. Oh my gosh. He was like growling.
There were moments I could have sworn, like I feel like there's a lot of boners happening in this room. Like there was like an ecstasy happening, and there was there were things and cuddle puddles happening.
Right. And then there were like people having to watch them in case they got too like rowdy in their trance states. Like
and it was It was literally like. On the coast, it was like in the Muir Woods, literally right on the rocky coast of Northern California.
It just felt like all of this was about like the mental transcendence, and it wasn't about any actual need.
Right, you weren't, like if I'm doing any type of ritual or spell that is about like transcending realms, it's because like there's I have to, there's a reason, and I have to, because it's a huge risk. You may not come back.
Exactly.
You may not come back. Like that's the thing, you may not come back. Like it is
dangerous.
It is dangerous. Like you need to have a now sometimes yes, you're in a situation where you gotta do some crazy magics. And that's that. Like, and depending on what the situation is, and you, as the witch, magic worker, whatever, magically inclined personage, you're the one to make that decision for yourself if it's worth that or not. But like to do that kind of shit, I'm not doing that unless it's for a very specific, like there's no other solution type situation.
Exactly.
Because that's a last ditch effort, you cannot come back. These people were probably not warned, you may not come back from doing this shit. And like, they're just like doing it in this California, new age, kind of whatever. And yeah, I don't like that shit.
No, I don't like it either.
And like, if any deity that you work with, from whatever culture that they originally come from or region, I do believe it's your due diligence to learn everything about them.
Yes.
So if an Orisha, if a Loa taps you, if it shows up, says, hey, like I want to work with you, I want to, and like I'm interested in you or whatever, then it's your duty to learn everything about them and what faith they come from, what their practices are. Like it is your duty.
Exactly.
But that does not mean that then you sit there and say, oh, I'm a voodoo practitioner, I'm a voodoo initiate. No, you're not. And like, if they're in your life, if they stepped into your life, then find out why, as quickly as you can. Find out why, in a clear way, why they have taken an interest in you. And if you sought them out, there was something about them, and for whatever reason, you were like, I want to work with this deity, and they do show up, like, make sure you really, really are certain why you want to work with them. And I'm always aware, at any time, any deity can piece the fuck out.
Exactly.
Walk away, at any point, and be like, I think our time hanging out is done.
Right.
Like, that can happen. So far, it hasn't happened. In this documentary, you have people, white privileged people, invoking largely Egyptian pantheonic deities for very specific purposes.
Yes.
And why? Like, it just, so these are all things we need to, we're going to explore.
Exactly.
But I like that the documentary, it necessarily didn't question it, but it did expose kind of how rampant this shit was.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think it's also very easy to sit here from our present day and evaluate this work outside of the context of its time.
Right, 1985, and you know filming probably started in like 82, 83,
So I also think that that's an important part of the conversation as well, to not lose sight of the cultural context of the day.
Yeah.
But we can still notice what we notice and see what we see.
Exactly.
Oh, and then there was a segment on Geiger and his art, which was very beautiful and stunning. I mean, we are seasoned horror fanatics in both of our homes for all of our lives, and frankly, like the imagery coupled with the music that was chosen to showcase his art, like I actually got scared.
Same. Same.
Yeah, it was one of those segments that was actually very difficult to sit through because of the dark places that it goes to.
Yeah.
But very, very powerful.
Yes, I would definitely say, again, I would say Full Moon.
Yeah, no, me too. It was great.
It achieved what it was meant to do, and I think honestly, seeing it in full context, outside of just the chop house of Wicca, the occult experience, I think made it even better and more worthy of a Full Moon. I thought it was much more a well-rounded, interesting documentary.
I agree.
And in its full context was really fascinating, and yeah, it went for some eeriness and some, but I thought it was great.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it much more than just the Wicca parts spliced together.
Yeah. All right, you guys, so there you have it.
Yes.
That is our Lughnasadh Lammas August 1st, first harvest, first breath of autumn special.
Please give us the breath.
Yes, give us the breath. Obviously, don't forget, if you like what you see and enjoy the show, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And let us know, and once again, continue to help spread the word about our baneful and blessed coming.
Yes.
Have a wonderful, wonderful Lughnasadh, Lammas, however you call it or celebrate it. Let us know how you do, and until next time, which is, remember, broomsticks, not just for cleaning.